say pretty light on the palette.
What did I get? Are we recording?
Yeah.
Is this mine?
Yeah, that's yours. And that's your business card.
Or are you just letting it inspire you?
I think so. I took a picture of it. That's how cool it is. If it's worth taking a photo of, like, that's pretty badass. But there's not many cards that I keep, and the ones that I do they're always like peculiar or slightly different, or the material's real nice, and I'm like, man, this is too good of a card to throw away. Probably won't call you, but I like your card.
But your card is inspiring.
Nonetheless, I kept it, which I think is a good sign.
That is a good sign.
I'd keep this card. I'm going to keep this card.
I was about to be like, you would?
I'm going to. How cool. I can't believe you haven't just passed these out, just giving them out like candy. How many do you have?
I have like 1,000 of them.
Well, you better start handing them out.
I know.
Look at this. Katy Garcia.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure how that was going to play out, like just name and number.
How do you feel like it played out?
I think it is extremely well executed.
Do you like the material?
I do. I love the color. And I appreciate the font.
Thank you.
Sometimes get emotional about fonts.
Okay, Kanye.
This one's right up my alley. I like it.
You know, they don't have a lot of good font choices on the card. I think I used Vistaprint or whatever.
Yeah.
But I really like that.
Don't give away all your secrets.
That's it. Vistaprint.
Oh my gosh. We're hosed.
Wow. All right, editing it out. I use
It just bleeps.
Yeah.
That's why we
Beep.
get it. Yeah.
We didn't decide what we were going to talk about today.
Mm-mm. How do you feel about this wine, though? Now, remember the last wine bottle that we had?
It's an improvement on that. The wine that tasted like it came out of a shoe.
Okay, I had to go screw top because we were sans bottle opener. This is a Pinot Noir, region of Napa, alias, California, 2017. How much do you think this is hitting for on the shelves of Whole Foods?
$9.
Ooh.
$9.99.
$9.99. I don't know. Do you think there's a threshold for bottled wine, capped wine? What would you call this? Screw top?
Screw top.
Screw top wine. Yeah, like where it caps out of it being bad or good. Like how much money should I spend on screw top wine versus cork wine? And is it?
I don't know if it matters. All I know is that cork wine makes me feel like I'm drinking wine, and screw top wine makes me feel like I'm a little kid.
I do, yeah. Like it's like apple juice or grape juice.
Doesn't taste like apple juice.
It kind of tastes like grape juice.
It tastes like grape juice that someone left under their bed for a long time.
Under
the bed.
What do you want to talk about
Prison
today?
wine. I was thinking about that. So a couple things. I'm like, I don't remember. I don't think we've talked about this yet. I'm reading Eat, Pray, Love.
Oh my! I have never read that.
Me neither.
I don't know that I've seen the movie. That's the one with Julia Roberts.
I haven't seen the movie either.
Is that the one where she like goes to the lock bridge, or there's like a wall of locks?
I don't know. I haven't seen the
Locks
movie.
of love. For some reason, I feel like.
But do you know the premise? She goes through this
divorce.
She goes through a horrible divorce.
At what age?
31.
Goodness, that's not much older than me.
No, and you know what she does? She
I feel like she's more like 40 in the movie. But
no, she's in her early 30s, and she's just like she's really struggling to cope, and then gets in this like whirlwind romance after, and then ends in heartbreak, and she's like, you know what? I don't know how to balance my life. My life is all extremes. So I'm gonna go to Italy and I'm gonna learn the art of pleasure, and I'm gonna go to India and learn the art of like connecting with God, and then I'm gonna go to Indonesia and I'm gonna spend 4 months trying to balance the two. How can I live a life of pleasure while still like worshiping a higher being and have that in harmony so that I'm not so like obsessive?
Does she use, or do they use the word pleasure specifically?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah. So she goes to Rome for 4 months because she's like, I'm just a different person in Rome, which reminded me of you.
I'm trying to tell you, Cash, this is not a thing. I know you're saying that I like Paris is with me, but in me.
Paris is inside of you.
Inside of me. But I'm just saying.
Yeah, okay, so she goes to Italy and she's like, I'm going to learn how to enjoy my life in the moment.
Present.
Basically.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to live in the present. I'm going to learn how to enjoy my life in the moment. And, like, I'm going to learn the art of just loving my fucking life.
Yeah.
I don't want to be unhappy anymore. So she actually takes a vow of celibacy while she's in Italy. So she doesn't learn the art of that kind of pleasure.
Really?
No. So she just, like, drinks. I know. I wanted it to get, like, naughty, but it didn't.
Steamy.
Yeah, so she learns Italian. She just, like, literally she's living her dream. She gains 23 pounds just eating pasta and drinking wine and just fucking around.
It's good weight. It's okay.
Yeah.
European weight. It's okay.
It's sexy weight.
It's sexy weight.
American weight is lazy and gross. But European weight is
sexual,
cultured, and fertile.
Fertile?
Mm-hmm. You like that?
Yeah, I do. I'm into it.
Anyway, you should read it. It's really good. But while I was reading it, I was like, this book is just about, like, her finding herself. Like, it's not really about anything in particular. So...
You want to talk about finding yourself?
Yeah.
I think I'm still... I'm all over the place. I'm searching.
For what?
Myself.
Gotta elaborate. I don't know what that means.
I don't know either. But since we're on the topic, let's just run with it. My New York trip was interesting. Did not quite go how I had anticipated or expected. Like, so right off the bat, my mom travels out there maybe 4 times a year.
Yeah.
So like once a quarter. And she'll, for work, she'll get a hotel or stay at the apartment for like a week. And she's like, hey, I'm going to New York. She always lets me know in advance, like, hey, I'll be there these dates, if you want to come along. Well, I was like, you know what? I should go. I like New York. I think that'd be fun. I'll get to spend some time with my mom. I'll get to take care of some meetings with some people that I wanted to meet up with out there. So I booked the flight's booked. And then a couple days before, the dog eats a bone. Did I tell you about this?
Tucker?
Tuck ate a bone. And it was just not sitting well with him. He couldn't pass it or something. So
Stuck in there. Obstruction.
Yeah. So he had to go to the vet, and then they had to put him under and give him a bunch of different things. And they didn't have to do surgery. I don't remember exactly like what happened. He's okay now. Tuck's okay now.
Is the bone still inside of him?
I don't know. I'm guessing not. I'm guessing he passed it.
You don't know shit about what happened.
No, but it affected the trip.
Okay.
Because I was gonna stay at the hotel, and I was gonna have a free place to crash. Cause it's expensive.
And then she couldn't go.
Yes. Yeah.
So you couldn't just check into her hotel?
No, cause she didn't book the room. She's not gonna be there. Her work would have paid for it, and I would have been staying there. No.
Oh.
See what I'm saying? So I had to call my buddy last minute, and thankfully he let me stay with him. But it was in Brooklyn, and Brooklyn's okay. It's a lot of people like it. I'm not one of them.
I've actually never been to Brooklyn.
I don't know. It's not bad, but everything that I was doing was in Manhattan. So.
Are they far away?
It's like 20 to 40 minutes on the subway, depending on like primetime traffic or not.
Yeah.
But the thing is like, I was crashing on the couch. Couch wasn't comfortable at all, and I'm a couch crasher. I can sleep on some couches, but he had a couple different roommates, and you don't want to like be in people's space. Like, even though they were letting me crash there, I was super grateful. But sometimes when you don't feel like you have a place to like go back and relax and chill.
I need alone time.
Exactly.
So it's really hard for me to stay with
maybe
other
that's
people.
maybe that's a better way to say it.
Yeah.
And so I was just kind of needed my own space. But dude, during the week, it's like $350 to $500 a night for a hotel room in New York.
Yeah, because it's business travel.
Yeah, and I was like, fuck that.
How much is it on the weekend?
It was like, I think I paid the $170 or $180.
Cheaper on the weekend.
Yeah.
Weird.
I know, super weird. But it was a long trip. I found myself very anxious, and I didn't know why. And I'm starting to attribute that to how much caffeine I've been consuming.
Too much.
I think it's so. This last week I've been past couple of days no caffeine, and I've been super tired.
Whoa, cold turkey.
Cold turkey, yeah.
I drink a lot.
Dude, I was having I started like introducing espresso shots into my routine on top of like a double Americano, and then just coffee throughout, or like a Red Bull, and then so I don't know. I told you, like, I started having shots of espresso at night. Like,
yeah, that's when you know you have a problem. I actually had a double shot of espresso before I got here, so I'm like really hyped.
Oh!
I know. But I took a nap today.
How was that?
It was awesome. It was the best thing ever. And every time I take a nap, I don't want it, but I'm too tired and I have to. And when I take it, I'm like, that was amazing. I should do this every day.
How long was your nap?
Hour and a half.
Oh, that's a long nap.
I don't know. This 30-minute nap bullshit is not a thing I do.
So how did you felt good after you woke up? You didn't feel like, oh, I'm super tired, I want to go back to sleep?
I felt super tired for like 5 minutes.
Oh.
But then I got up, had a French dip, 2 shots of espresso, and now I'm here.
Bam.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I feel like, okay, so obviously the only days you can nap are on your days off. And my days
Obviously?
off.
I think you lie. No, I don't.
That's not. Well, 5 p.m.'s too late to nap.
Dude, you could nap at like lunch. Just 20 minutes.
If you got a spot. I don't
That's
have
true.
a spot. I don't drive, so I don't have a car. And I can't just nap outside like a bum.
If you worked at Google, you could.
Listen, I have napped outside many times. However, there's like literally nowhere comfy. I used to nap outside at the old job we had together, like all the time.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, because they had some comfy ass couches.
That's right.
But anyway, I can only nap on my days off, and then it's my day off, and I want to waste it, and then I end up like not wanting this nap and just not getting anything done for like an hour while I fight the nap, and then I give in and I take the nap anyway, and it was awesome. I was out like a rock.
I slept amazing last night. So Rach and I went out to sushi at our.
I seen it.
Yeah. Oh, she probably posted stuff. Okay, well, we pretty much like shut the place down, and after all the customers left, like we were hanging out and having beers with the owners, because we've known them for a while, and Matt, one of the other, oh fuck, I can't out people like that. One of the customers gave him, she made him like Rice Krispie edibles and gave them to them.
Oh.
Yeah, and he's like, hey, you guys want some? And with all the customers still there, he was like passing out like little baggies of Cocoa Puff edibles. And I was like, are you guys just fucking with me? Like, or is this real? And so I ate a bunch.
A bunch?
Dude, yes. It was like a hand. It was tasty. It was Rice Krispies. Come on, like.
I know. I don't fuck with edibles. You know that.
Yeah. Well, I did.
I have eaten a Rice Krispie edible actually.
So
before.
I had like, I don't know, like three-ish beers and like a handful of edible. I didn't wake up till like 12 today.
Wow. I ate a Cocoa Puff, like Cocoa Rice Krispie edible one time that was also mushrooms. It was a mushroom weed edible, and it fucked my life up.
Damn.
And I was like at a music festival, and I ate it, and then I was in like, as soon as it was like coming to its like full fruition,
Yeah.
I was in a crowd because I was going to see Primus, and like their gates were closed because it was too full, because everyone in the festival was going to see Primus. And so we were kind of getting like pushed forward, like squished in the people in front of us, and like I'm kind of short, so I can't really see, and like people were pushing me, and it was a huge crowd, and I'm like tripping balls now, and like the guy in front, the guy behind me, like kind of pushed me a little bit,
Yeah.
and I just turned around and kicked him as hard as I could in the shin, and like.
Dude, you're a kicker.
Yeah. Apparently, when I take a bunch of drugs and then I'm in a crowd and you push me, I like turned around and I kicked him, and he was like, "What the fuck?" And I was like, "Don't fucking push me!" Like, freaked out on him, and then I like was like,
just went full Katy mode.
Wow, full Katy mode. No. And I like had to get out of there. I ended up like sneaking around the back and like watching it from far away where I didn't have to be in a crowd. I couldn't take it.
It's not fun when you can't control it.
No.
In most of the time you can't. But my problem is like, oh, this tastes really good, or seems really good. More. That's not always the answer.
No. This is about to get serious really quick.
Oh shoot.
Or should we keep it lighthearted?
I mean, I guess I'm ready.
I took those, and then the next day, because it's a camping festival, the girls, like, I don't know, like 5 tents away, somebody's car rolled down the hill and crushed them and killed them right next to us. It was fucked up, dude. And so I'm like, still have this like residual like mushroom
experience, like you're tying that to it.
And like I'm like a little bit stoned still, and I'm an EMT, so I ran over there, and like it was just so graphic and like brutal, and they were just like 21, and I think that's why I like can't. I've never done drugs since then.
Those kind of drugs.
I've smoked weed, but
Yeah.
I have never taken anything else since that moment.
Prior to that experience,
I did drugs a lot. I know you're gonna ask.
No, that's not what I was gonna ask.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Like let's use mushrooms for example. Was that something that had a positive experience prior to that occasion?
Yes.
Like, did you get stuff out of those experiences, or were they? There have been experiences that I've had. I'm like, whoa, like that was pretty profound, even though not a lot happened. You know, like I physically may have not been doing a whole lot, but there was just a lot going on
in here. Yeah. I've always had like positive like spiritual experiences on mushrooms because it's not too psychological. Like you're not out of your mind, I guess. It's hard to describe if you haven't done it, but like you definitely, your mentality changes, you see a lot of visuals, you feel like very intense, and like you will see like everything is moving. You've taken mushrooms?
I've only done the tea, but I don't know. Yeah, I haven't like had like a full blown.
Oh yeah, I've like eaten
mushroom
a bag
experience.
of mushrooms.
No, haven't done that yet.
Everything is moving. Like everything is like wavy, just how you would
imagine. Is it kind of like a soul searching experience?
It is.
Because I've heard it explained by some people where they've done it and it's like, oh, you're gonna see some shit that the things that you're avoiding or the things that you're maybe not neglecting, but just kind of like sweeping under the rug, like it's gonna expose a lot of that.
I swear I've told you about this. Like when I took mushrooms, that was like the first time I took mushrooms changed my life. Like literally turned me into the adult I am now, because I was like.
That's a profound experience. That's what I'm asking. Like.
Yes.
So prior to what you're attaching to a negative event, right?
Prior to this negative event, it was very positive. And the first time I took mushrooms was actually with my boyfriend at the time. We were 22, and we split an eighth of mushrooms. So like.
Is that a lot or?
You don't want to eat a whole eighth to yourself. That's a bad idea. So this is about the most that you can, it also depends on how strong they are, so it's kind of hard.
This is not you recommending.
I'm not recommending to take a whole, we split it in half.
Okay.
And we rented a hotel room on the ocean, so the balcony looked out on the ocean.
I think you may have shared this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right when it started to really hit, and you're just having this out of body experience, where you are viewing your life almost like it's like a movie. And so, you know how hard it is to self-criticize?
Like third person?
Almost. Yeah. Like, I was still seeing from my own eyes. I wasn't, looking down on myself. But in my mind, the way that I was, seeing what I'm doing was, third person. I was, imagining myself like a video game, almost. And we walked down on the beach, and I'm just already having this just deep experience of like, I am just me and I'm not that important and that's okay. And I'm like looking out of the ocean, it's just like stars. There's a storm out on the ocean that's like lighting it up with lightning. And I had this moment where I was like, I don't mean anything to the universe, but in a good way.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, like my clothes don't matter. Like none of this shit matters. Everything that I'm wrapped up with like doesn't matter. Like look at this universe. I am just one person on a huge planet in a huge universe that we know nothing about, and like I'm wasting my life. Like I'm not in school, I'm waiting tables, I'm making it paycheck to paycheck, like I'm not doing shit with my life. And then I was like, I might be nobody, but I won't have my life be nothing. And literally after that, I re-enrolled in school.
Really?
I went back to college.
Oh shit.
I got straight A's from then on, because I was like, if I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it right.
Right.
I still did a bunch of drugs.
I mean, look at the positive effect.
And
there.
like,
yeah.
I was like, I want to be a better person than I was yesterday, forever. And that was like, it really did turn me into the human that I am now.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was like this really positive experience. Every time I took mushrooms, it was a great time. And then that happened. And then I was like,
well, at least you had some good ones.
Yeah, and then I honestly, like, maybe if I tried to take them again, it would be okay. But like at this point, it's been too long, and like, the problem with doing like psychoactive drugs like that is like, if you think you're gonna have a bad time, you'll have a bad time.
So that's what's prevented me from kind of going into some of those situations. And whenever I have done anything, I've always been in a good mood, or at least known that, hey, I'm with good people right now, we're having fun.
Yeah.
It's gonna be really hard to fuck this up. But if I know that about myself. Like if I'm on the fence, like, probably should hold off. Or
you really have to listen to yourself.
Yeah. Like, and that's okay, right? It's okay. But I would like for the right settings to present themselves where I would be like, okay, I feel good about this. You know, like at least give myself a fighting chance of having a good experience, as opposed to stacking the cards against me.
Well, you can really rabbit hole when you're having a spiritual experience.
Absolutely.
Like, you can have it in an extremely bad way. And like, the reason why I liked mushrooms and like I never took acid is because.
Is that your favorite? You've never taken acid?
I've never taken acid. It's like one of the few things. And the reason why I've never taken acid is because it's always scared me. And like,
I microdosed. That was a fun experience.
I would like to do that because I've heard it's like not really the same.
No, I think it's kind of like having coffee, like supercharged, and you get very much into the zone. You don't see anything though. Like I didn't see anything, but you're just like, woo, just kind of like locked in, which is cool. So I would use it
like a spotlight.
Yeah, that's a good example. I would use it intentionally, right? Like if you want to be.
You're Steve Jobsing it.
100%. That'd be fun to podcast that way. I'm curious what the conversation would go.
If I would like to try it, so I'm down to do that and then do a podcast. But the reason why I've never taken, yeah, I know, I'm already a chatter. It's gonna be horrible. The reason why I've never done it is because it freaks me out, and I feel like this is one of the times when you just have to really be in tune with like your feelings, and your emotion and your vibe is under your control almost completely, but not completely.
I agree with that.
I feel like it's almost like you can guide yourself, but in some cases when you're in a bad mood and you're trying to guide yourself into being in a good mood, it takes a lot more work. And like you can't do that when you're on drugs. And that's why you have to like recognize. Anyway, we're just talking about drugs now.
Yeah, we're just talking about drugs. So how far are you into Eat, Pray, Love?
I'm about halfway. She's in India right now.
And you haven't read, you haven't watched the movie?
I have not.
So she's gone through Italy.
She's gone through Italy. She's in India working in an ashram. Is that how you say that word?
Ashram?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm not familiar.
Like a yoga retreat? Ashram?
No.
Anyway, she's there for 6 weeks. Like, getting up at 3:30 every day to meditate and chant and then like clean, help everybody with their like spiritual retreats. It's pretty cool. I just want to travel. Like I really try to fight it because I have stuff to do at home and I'm in a lease and I have a life and stuff. But I just want to travel. Like so I'm reading this book and I've always wanted to write something about my travels. Like I have a blog online and I just don't feel that inspired when I open it up. I'm like,
your blog or what?
My blog. So obviously we've talked about this a lot and you gave me that creativity book. I'm always trying to do stuff that like brings out my creativity. Yeah. I'm always trying to do new creative projects and like try a new thing. Like, oh, I should try to paint today. Or like, do I paint? No. Am I ever going to paint again? Probably not. But like, that sounds kind of fun. Like, painting is so simple. Why have I never painted before as an adult?
Yeah.
Like, you know.
You ever done one of those?
I haven't.
No?
No. Well, go ahead and say it.
You go, it's really fun to do is like a date.
It's like the wine and paint night, right? Yeah, I've never done one of those.
It's fun.
Have you gone on a date and done that?
Yeah. I know.
Tell me, was it good?
Yeah, it was good. It was a fun time.
Did you take her on another date?
Maybe. This wasn't recent. It was a while ago.
Long time ago. Okay. Yeah, so I'm trying to like capture my creativity, which ironically, the lady who wrote Eat, Pray, Love has a TED Talk on how to capture your creativity.
When you say capture, what do you mean by that?
Well, I feel like it's inside of me, just like anyone else, and I'm just trying to give it an avenue to come out. So I do photography, and then this is like a way to like be verbally creative, conversationally creative.
Right.
But I don't think we do enough creative shit in our day-to-day lives in America.
I would say most people, probably not.
Most people, probably not.
It's hard. It's hard. Creativity is a very interesting part of life because I've gone through phases where I've wanted to be creative so bad that I would try so hard to be creative. Creative isn't something that you try hard, like you don't. You
can't force it.
Yeah, you can't force creativity, and there are many times which I've attempted to do that. And sometimes you just got to be okay with, it's not the creative season, right? Not accepting it as a negative, like, oh, I'm not creative, I can't create, those kind of things. One of the things that I've noticed, for me at least, is your environment. It plays a huge role in your creativity, and I believe that you can be in a creative an environment that fosters creativity, and then an environment that doesn't encourage it as much, right? And typically when you're in let's say, and it's hard because you don't want to use like a blanket statement and say when you're in a 9 to 5 you can't be creative, because that's not true.
About to say that.
Yeah, that's not true. However, your creativity is limited to the scope in which your job allows, right?
I think the more you surround yourself with rules, the more it's harder to let your creativity flow, because creativity is anti-rules.
Yeah.
And when you're in a 9 to 5 every day where you're like, this is what you do because we tell you to do it, and please don't make it, please don't cause trouble.
Nobody says please don't cause trouble.
But that's like what's implied.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, oh, we don't need you to fix things and just do what we want you to do.
Well, you think about it, like, I just need you to do this job. I don't need you to be creative, really.
No.
There's not a lot of roles that require you to be creative, work-wise, right? And they want to be able to replicate results as efficiently as possible. Yes. Right.
And anything outside of those boundaries can be perceived as not working. Yes. And that's what bothers me. I sit on the couch and work, and I've heard stirrings on the wind at work that people think I'm not working. Literally, because I'm sitting on a fucking couch.
Yeah.
I'm working just like I would be sitting at a desk. But because I'm on a couch and I look like I might be happy, they're like, oh, well, clearly she's not working. Working isn't for the happy people. Can you tell I'm angry right now?
Little work.
Yeah. Anyway, go ahead with your creativity.
No,
capturing.
I've had a lot of experience where I've had waves, or let's call them seasons, or streaks of where I would consider myself extremely creative, and I never, like, even when we were working at the startup, I didn't want to use that as an excuse not to be creative or not to create. But then there's also the other side where you need to know, timing wise, like, if you don't have an idea, if you don't have like something that's really like pressing or that you need to get out of your system, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. And I think the thing that I've had to learn is just to be a little bit more patient. And when I do feel those, not motivation, but when I get those ideas where I'm like, oh, okay, you need to take this a little bit further. Though that's where I'm trying. For example, like this podcast, like I know we have a lot of potential. I know we're incredibly talented. Now it's coming up with a format that adds value and that resonates with a lot of people that we are excited to do. And that to me is a good expression of creativity, because you have to come up with, okay, well, you're competing against everyone else's attention.
Yeah.
And so you log into iTunes, and right now I think a lot of people are if you're, let's say, not a practitioner, but you're just reading headlines, a lot of people will say it's too late to start a podcast, or podcasting is saturated or a very crowded place to launch from. And I think that's complete bullshit.
Well, I think they would have said that about Instagram 5 years ago, and it wasn't saturated. We just thought it was.
No. And if you are talented and skilled and you're able to add value to other people, there's a lot of things that you can do creatively. And I think creativity is fun, but it's also challenging, and it's frustrating, and it's hard. You tend to be pretty hard on yourself. Like, let's say you fall under the artist category. You're just like, my work's never good enough, or you're always comparing yourself to a lot of other people, and it's tough.
It feels tortured. Like because I know that I'm a good photographer, but I still don't feel like I am one. And I think that's just like part of creativity. Is like, creativity isn't about being content. It's about like creating something that is maybe different, or I don't know how to describe it. Like, how can you describe it? You can't really.
It's a process, and you can always get better. And that's why I think it's important for us to, even though we may not have a super clear double cup in, huh?
What? Water.
Can't see that on camera. No, I think that the vision doesn't need to be super clear. I think if you have good intentions and you keep at it, I think certain things, and you don't force it. Anything forced is never good, right? And so, but how do you stay consistent? How do you continue to get better or better your craft, and trying to line all these things up in a way that is fun to do. And that's one of the things I'm trying to get back to, like what we were talking about just on my recent trip to New York. I'm like, fuck, dude, like, I'm super in my head right now. I should be content with a lot, but for whatever reason, I don't feel happy. I don't like that word, but I'm trying to get back to having fun.
So what do you do when you don't feel creative? I think that's kind of like where you're going right now. Because I think everybody struggles with that.
When you don't feel creative?
Yes.
What do you do?
Yeah, what do you do? Like, how do you... This kind of ties back into our, like, Is Motivation Bullshit podcast, you know?
Episode, yeah.
Yeah, and, like... But I feel like it's different, because I do think that you can inspire yourself. And I think throughout time, artists have always said that certain things inspire them. For you, in particular, it's your environment.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, like the theory of, like, a muse. Like someone
I
who...
like that theory.
Like, what do you do when you are searching for creativity? You're not forcing it, but you're trying to, like, kind of encourage it to well up from within. And it just doesn't seem to be happening.
Was that a question?
Yes. Would you like me to repeat it?
I mean, maybe like...
What do you do when you're trying to be creative and it's not working?
I think take the pressure off. yourself of feeling like you have to create something.
So would you say do nothing, or would you say just go for it, and if it's shit, that's fine? You're practicing.
It depends.
I'm going to go with the second one.
It depends for me, because I've tried to force a lot of different things in the past, and I think with enough experience or with enough practice, if you will, that you start to get a good sense of what will work or what won't work. But it is good to practice. And even if you suck, if it's something, it's kind of putting one foot in front of the other. And what's neat about that is that even if whatever it is that you're attempting to do right now at the moment may not work. So for me, let's take what I'm doing, for example, like the dog stuff, right? So it's something that people are paying for. I'm selling stuff, like, yeah, it's decent, like it's not blowing up by any means. And now I'm at a point where it's like, do you continue to do that? Are new opportunities gonna present themselves as a result of being creative in putting your work out there? But I think it is good. It's good to flex that muscle.
Yeah.
So I think it's you can't say you want to be creative and never do anything.
I'm not feeling it today.
Or just there's a lot of people that I've been asked advice from, that they're like, hey, what do you think about this, or what do you think about that? And it's like, man, like I think you should just put it out there.
Just go for it.
Well, just put it out there and see what happens, right? Like, there's something to be said about, like, yeah, you have an idea, but if you don't introduce it to the world, it never has a chance, right? And so that's why I think it's important to put it out there. And if you are good enough, like you'll get some traction, but it's going to take time. You have to know that. Like, let's say we knew that the podcast would be well received, but it wouldn't be well received for 3 years. Would you continue to we don't know that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But are you in it long enough to see if something would play out? And you kind of have to have some sort of a shelf life, unless you're doing it just purely for the fun of it, which is cool too. It really depends on what your goals and what your ambitions are creatively.
Well, it's hard to know, and I think this ties into a lot of things in life. It's hard to know when to let something go and when to push through the hard times.
Yeah, that's tough.
And this is true with like a project, a relationship, a job.
Yeah.
Like, you don't know if it's like, man, if I give up now, am I just a quitter, or am I like cutting my losses?
Right.
Like, I don't know, because I don't know what the end is, and you just have to make a best judgment. Yeah, like, if we push through this part of our relationship, are we going to be better, or am I just settling because I'm pathetic? Ooh. Like, yeah, you don't
I think you have
fucking
to be really,
know.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
And you won't know, even if you made the other choice. Like, you'll never know. You can guess.
Right. Well, the good thing about creativity is most of the time you're not losing anything. You might be losing, like, you're pouring your energy into a project that maybe will never come to the goal that you had originally envisioned it for, but you're working, like you said, your creativity muscle, and you can go on to another project. It's not like a relationship where you can't really have more than one at once.
Try.
You can try, but not really. Whereas, like, with projects and stuff, and especially if you're trying to pursue any kind of art, like, I'm doing my photography, I'm, like, doing a little bit of writing, I'm doing this podcast, like, yeah. I do a bunch of stuff all at once.
Well, I think what's so cool about that, like, let's take you, for example, right? So you're doing photography, that's fun, you're enjoying that, you're writing a little bit. So, like, you're giving yourself a chance to find something that you might like to do. And I think that's really important, right? And so a lot of people don't do any of those things.
Well, they say that they want to.
Yeah.
But you know what I think about saying that you want. If you wanted to, you would.
Right. I believe that as well. So
I just, like, I had a moment a couple of years ago where I was like, man, I want all these things. I really wish this would happen to me. And
like
I was like, I really wish I could be a photographer. Professional, full-time photographer.
And what does that mean? Just getting paid to only take photos?
I want to make enough money that's all I have to do for work.
Yeah.
And so...
That sounds attractive.
Sounds attractive. But then I was sitting down thinking about it, and I was like, this dream will literally never come true because I'm not even doing anything that would make it come true. At this point, I was like...
That's really good awareness.
Yeah, because I was like, I don't want that. It's literally not even possible.
Right.
I was like, I don't have a website.
Right.
I don't have a business card. I don't tell people I want this. I don't work towards it. I'm not trying to get paid to do it. So, like, that's a pretty unrealistic dream.
That's a really hard conversation to have, though, with yourself and be really honest with yourself. And that's where I'm finding myself right now is, Taylor, what do you really want?
Yeah, and are you even making that possible? It's like how I'm always like, man, I wish I would win the lottery, like blah, 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 blah. Here's the thing, dude. I don't even buy tickets. Like, I think about winning the lottery, and I literally never buy lottery tickets.
Dude,
and
I'm too cheap to buy lottery
tickets. That's what I'm saying. Not that that's like a good investment in your time or money, but
yeah, you never know.
But that's what I was doing with my photography.
Yeah.
I was like, I wish I could be a photographer, and I wasn't even buying a ticket.
Or you weren't even taking photos.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, so now I have a website. Obviously, I have my sweet-ass business card that I showed you earlier.
Really sweet, yeah.
Also, by the way, that paper is called linen paper, and on one of our last episodes, I said that I was getting linen, and my sister thought I meant cloth. I think I mentioned that already, yeah. So now...
Just cloth?
Yeah, just a piece of cloth with my phone number on it.
Uh-oh.
Now I have a website. I, like, actively try to pursue opportunities.
Yeah.
And, like, is it going to happen? Probably not, because I'm not putting, like, a ton of energy into it. But now
I know
it's
for
possible.
a fact you could if you really wanted to.
Right.
Right? And then you go back to the thing, like, how bad do you actually want it?
Yeah, I think it's
and
just...
how much time are you putting into it?
I don't want it enough to dedicate my... I also know that I could achieve that. But it's like, it would take a lot of struggle to get there. And I'm like, nah.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to keep this as a hobby, and I'm not going to let it die.
So imagine you decided that you wanted to become a photographer full time, and you put in all the work while you were working where you're at now, and you grinded it out on the weekends. You booked all your weekends. You shot weddings. You basically took whatever work you could, and then you got in a position to where you could do that full time. Then you go and do that full time, and you're like, oh, I like taking the photos that I want to take, but now it feels like a job. Mm-hmm. Right? And that situation is where I found myself with sneakers and like shoes. And like,
oh yeah, it's work.
Well, yeah, and I had a lot of fun doing it and when I was building it, and then I got to this point where my goal was like, I'm going to open up a sneakers shop. Like, if I could just be around shoes all day, that was my niche. That's what I had focused all my time, energy, and attention. I could tell you everything about any stinking shoe you could ever imagine.
That blows my mind, by the way. Like, side note, I know I'm derailing you right here, but shoes?
Sneakers. It's a good business.
Okay,
It got bigger after I left, which is like, it's like, fuck, Taylor. But I got to a point where, it's like, dude, I fucked up.
This is one of those times when you should have stuck it out.
Could have, should have. But should I have, right?
No. Yeah. You made the right choice for you.
I've been into some different things now, but my whole thing is now that experience has the experience of being tied into that, because I wanted to talk about so many different things. Like, I was like, oh, yeah, I love sneakers, but like, I also love reading books, and I also love traveling, and I also love... So I was trying to find ways to like really shift the brand and shift all my creativity into different ideas and different projects. And could I have done a better job of making that transition? Probably. And the answer is yes, I could have. But I didn't. And I didn't know how. And I was young. I was 22, 22, 23 maybe.
I was just on the beach taking mushrooms.
Yeah, and I had my business going for like 4 or 5 years, And so... now that's one of my fears that I have and it's why it's hard for me, when we're talking about the podcast, is I know it's important to niche down. I know it's important for us to get creative around something very, very specific, so that way we can create an audience and create a community. The fear is that, or my fear is that you get stuck in that, and then it no longer becomes fun, and then it becomes work, and then it zaps all your creativity or your desire to create things.
But you adapt
for those things. Yeah. So now what I think it's important is how do we and this is the fun part too, like creativity should be fun, right? And so how do you solve, the way that I look at it is like, how do you solve this not problem, this, the end goal is like, this is something that we could talk about right now, where I sent you that video. I don't know if you had a chance to watch it. It was in creating, how do you create content that, like, geez, let me see if I can find it. But basically, 1,000 True Fans, right? Have you read that at all?
Yes, I have.
And I think that was by Kevin Kelly, but I sent you this not too long ago by my boy Tim Ferriss.
Well, the thing is, and while you look for that,
How to create content that sustains a career. And so the idea is, a lot of people right now, and this is the trap that you fall into, once you develop a following, once you develop an audience, you become a slave to that, or that's how it felt for me, where I was like, oh my gosh, I have to post like shoe stuff. And then you end up despising it, like, oh my gosh, like if I have to post another shoe photo, I'm gonna like shoot myself, right? Seriously, I know it sounds ridiculous, but that's where
No, I know what you mean. Because you started for the love of it, and then you didn't have the love of it.
Yeah.
The thing about creativity is that it never ends.
No.
And so if you are like, oh, well, look, I found something I'm good at, and now this is what I do, and I'm going to create an audience around that, and I'm never going to change.
Right.
That is how it turns into work.
Right.
You have to always be adapting and pivoting a little bit, and if you stick to like a kind of zone, I think you'll get better. If you're all over the place and you have hobbies that are only,
well, so
unique to you, you're not going to find.
So let's talk, like this would be a cool part for us to have like an open conversation about our idea for what we're doing in our podcast and the potential audience or community. Because one thing I was sharing with you is when I was doing my homework or my research, like I found some travel podcasts.
Yeah, I heard.
And they're not that great.
Well, I feel like travel...
Well, I'm just using an example. So, like, you go ahead and say what you want to say. And
I don't think travel makes good podcast content.
Why?
Because travel is about so much more than just you. Travel is the opposite of you. Travel is about everything but you and how you experience that.
It has a very profound effect on you.
Yes, but it's not about
But those experiences
you.
Are all external.
Right, and I think that one of the beautiful things about traveling is that you can go to Rome and I can go to Rome, and we can literally be together experiencing the same things, and they're going to be completely different.
Yeah.
And I think in order to fully capture that, like, you need to have more than just talking about it.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So that's why I don't want to have a travel podcast.
Okay, good. So we have
Is that what
right?
you wanted?
No, not necessarily. But what I think it is important to kind of to hone in and you think of not what can we do. It's not let's get creative and put out content that we think people want to hear exclusively, right? It's part of what's going to make this fun for us to do and what's going to make this exciting and is that in line with what will resonate with with an audience, right?
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I was thinking of is we we're talking through or sharing the experiences that we've had in certain arenas, because I think that the people that could identify with us the most are the people that are probably in positions that they're not happy with where they're at, right? Whether you're in a relationship, whether you're single, whether you're in a relationship, whether you're engaged or married, I think people our age, which would fall under the millennial category?
25 to 35.
Yeah, so 25 to 35 is perfect. And one of the things that we value very highly is experiences in travel and those types of things. And the hard thing for us to navigate, and that's not exclusive. Just because you want to do those things doesn't mean you're not willing to work hard. Doesn't mean that you're not talented. Doesn't mean that you're not ambitious or driven. And I think that's a misrepresentation of when people use the word millennial. It's never really in a positive context.
If you use the word millennial, I don't like you.
Yeah.
Because it's just a shitty way. Yes. It's just a shitty way for you to blame the world that you created on us.
Yeah.
So fuck yourself. That's what I have to say to you.
So let's say we focus on these 25 to 35-year-olds, people that are us, right?
Yeah.
People that are struggling with the same things that we're struggling with, or people that are experiencing the same things that we've experienced. And what are some of the things that we can add value in their lives that's exciting to us, right? And you can tap into so many different things, and that's why I like when we were talking about what's our intro going to be, like what gives us enough flexibility, but what allows us to be dangerous, so to speak, in these different subjects in these different areas. And I was thinking, because this is where I'm at right now, where I'm like, okay, Taylor, like you've created a position for yourself, but you still like you're not right now, you're not having fun, or right now you're not happy, right? And why?
Are you not happy?
I don't know. I don't like that word, so I don't really it's hard for me to be like, yeah, I'm happy or I'm not. That to me is just a very like fleeting feeling.
How about this? Do you not feel the way you want to feel?
No.
Well, then I would say you're not happy.
Okay. Well then, yeah, I'm in a constant state of unhappiness then. Because there's so much that I want to accomplish.
Hence the name of our podcast.
Yeah, never satisfied. Oh shit. Well, that's spot on, right? but yeah, like, and I'm like, what would make me happy, right? And so I was starting to do this exercise where you start calculating, and I know I'm going down the wrong area, but I just had to like humor myself a little bit, where you do I think it's like total monthly income, like desired income, like basically how much money would you need to make in order to live life on your terms?
Depends on where you want to live.
Well, it definitely. So let's say I wanted a 1-bedroom apartment in a city of my choice. So that would be probably like $3,500.
I feel like you're thinking about happiness completely the wrong way.
I am, but I just need to share this with you.
I'm listening.
Okay.
I'm just telling you that, like, I don't think you're ever going to be successful.
No, I'm not. So, but this is where I'm at right now, and I think a lot of people think like this. Okay. I could be wrong, or maybe it's just me.
Well, happiness is not a place.
I know.
It's not an apartment in Rome.
I know. Unfortunately, I'm trying to buy my Rome apartment.
I know, and I mean, there's a lot of different avenues like this conversation in our lives could take right now. But I think that what we're trying to do, and like our niche, if that's what you want to call it, is like we're just trying to be happy and successful in a world that just doesn't give a fuck. And it's really hard. And like, we don't want things. Not that we could even have things, because people that use the word millennial ruined the housing economy, but that's for another podcast.
That's very true.
But like, I think that you have to find happiness from within. And previously, for the entirety of human life and happiness was being alive, and not.
We're very privileged and we're very spoiled, and so I think right now we have so many options that it fucks shit up.
Here's the thing: I don't think we're privileged and spoiled.
Really?
Yes, I don't, because I think that it's easier to find happiness in things, and our parents' generation finds happiness in things. They buy a house. Yes. They have a career, they make money, they go on these vacations, they have 2.5 kids, and then, you have a Porsche and you are happy. And we don't get to have those things because houses cost 5 times what we could afford nowadays. And so you have to find happiness somewhere else, because you can't have those things that are the easy way out. Mm-hmm. And and our parents' generation calls us spoiled now. Because we don't have the things that made their life easy. So we have to search for happiness within, and now we're spoiled. So get the fuck out of here with we're spoiled and privileged.
I think when I say privileged, like we have a lot of opportunity. When I'm just talking about being born in America.
Well, yes, but I'm
assuming
that
those are the things that Yeah, and we are privileged, like, you know, to be able to just, I don't know, just do bullshit things like fucking go to Starbucks and buy a fucking $5 coffee.
Well,
and,
everybody,
you know what I mean? Like those so it's all relative.
Everybody is privileged compared to somebody else.
Yes.
And everybody is poor compared to somebody else.
Yeah.
Like, you can't compare yourself to the world as a whole.
Yeah.
Yeah, are we in the top 1% of the world population? If you live in America, you're in the top 1% of the world population. Like,
and then put you in Silicon Valley, and then you're in a whole different
not even
echelon.
in America, but like in a Western country.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're better off than 80% of the world's population.
Right.
I mean, 50% of the world's population lives in that circle in Asia. That's just like Thailand, China, Vietnam, the Philippines, like India, right there.
Yeah.
Half the world. Like, are you richer than everyone in that circle? Almost. But like, we're not comparing ourselves to them, because you can't compare yourself to stuff like that, or else you get too fucked up. Like, you gotta focus on you and like your world life, your world view, and your actual life. It's good to have some perspective and be like, wow, I'm never gonna go hungry. That's awesome. Like, I'm really, really grateful for that. But I don't think it's good to like negate the things you want just because you have the privilege or ability to want those things.
No, I agree with that.
Yeah.
So,
happiness, rental, income, apartment in Rome. That's where you're at.
No, yeah. So I was just doing this exercise, like, how much money would I need to make? And I don't know if I was humoring myself or what, but then you kind of come up with a number, and you're like, okay, you know, I go in this mode of thinking where Taylor, like, okay, like, maybe you could set it up on your terms, right? And I know I've done this before, but so I'm not exactly sure why I'm going there, but I just to know that I could, where I'm like, right now, how would you mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, you're like, I just want to travel, right? I just want to travel. And that sounds so good, and like, that would be amazing for me too. And how much travel would I need to satisfy me or make me happy, right? In addition to everything else that I'm doing. Is that 1 month a year? Is that like 2-week vacations? Is that, you know, what exactly does that look like? And I'm trying to get really clear on the things that I want, or that I feel like I need, or, you know, I'm kind of I've been all over the place this past like week trying to figure out some shit.
Well, you're trying to strategize on something that's dynamic. Like, if someone was like, how much travel would make you happy? Like, I would never be satisfied with the amount of travel. I'm already happy, but I would enjoy traveling a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, a month a year would be awesome. That's more than I do now.
Yeah.
2 months a year would be awesome. I don't know what I'm going to want in 5 years. I just know what I want now. Like, I don't know. Like, find happiness in the struggle.
Absolutely.
But also, it kind of sucks. It's hard. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, that's part of the reason why when I'm talking about Eat, Pray, Love, when I'm reading it,
yeah,
I was like, I should write. Am I good at writing? No. But,
why do you want to write, even though you say that you don't feel good, like you're good at writing?
Because I want to travel, and I've traveled a lot, and I feel like,
oh, you could be like a travel writer?
I feel like I could maybe if I practiced and learned,
Yeah.
but I think I could, but I don't know because I've never tried.
Do you think that you would be good at it?
I don't know. Let's find out.
Oh, all right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean,
What's
I think
a journalist? Like, what's the definition of a journalist?
Well, you're like a news person.
Just like a newspaper reporter person?
Well, I think there's totally different kinds of journalists. There's like news journalists of like current events, and then there's journalists that are like investigatory. Is that a word?
I feel like it is.
Whatever. Anyway, there's all different kinds of journalists. But the reason why I'm writing is because I was bored. And I have a podcast, I'm doing my photography, and I'm bored. And I just needed something else.
That's cool. And so are you active? Like, what's the last thing you wrote?
I wrote a story.
Recently?
Yeah, yesterday.
A story?
I wrote I outlined a project.
Fiction?
I outlined a project. I'm going to write a series of short stories all about backpacking through Central America.
like based on true stories?
Yeah, I backpacked through Central America.
Well, I know you did, but I didn't know if it's.
Oh no, it's about me.
Oh.
Like it's all from my perspective.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Are you gonna like shop it around or?
Yeah, you can read it if you want.
That'd be cool. Is it on your blog?
I haven't put it up on my blog yet. I'm just writing it on Google Doc right now.
The goo.
But yesterday I just wrote a story about basically deciding I wanted to go on a trip and then planning it. And then I landed in the airport and I had a full out breakdown.
Before you left?
No, in the Panama City airport.
When you landed?
Yes, I did. This is a real life story. Because I was like, why am I here? What am I doing? What am I looking for? Like, am I just here to have fun? Like, I'm not having fun right now, so why the fuck am I here?
Yeah.
And then everybody spoke, like, Caribbean Spanish, and I didn't understand a fucking word.
What does that sound like?
It's just, like, really intense, slang-heavy Spanish. So, like, Panamanian Spanish, you can't understand.
Oh.
And so I, like, landed in the airport. I'm trying to just, like, get some food because I've been flying for a while. And then I want to get on a bus to go downtown to where my hostel is. And, like, I can't communicate with anybody because they don't understand what I'm saying. Well, they understand my Spanish. I'm probably sound like I'm speaking, like, Old English to them because my Spanish is so, like, proper and school learned. But they're speaking all this slang, and then I just, like, went to the bathroom to just, like, splash water on my face because I was feeling just, like, I'm jet lagged, I'm tired, I'm alone, no one understands me, I'm, like, 26, and, yeah, I just ended up, like, crying in the bathroom of, like, this is not what I thought it would be. Right away. Like, I didn't even give it a chance, but emotionally, like, I just couldn't give it a chance at that moment. And, like, obviously I stayed. But,
And I think you had overall a good experience.
Oh yeah, hands down one of the best things I've ever done in my whole life. It was hard, and I went down there to have fun and, like, find myself.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was not fun, but I definitely did find myself. And by find myself, I mean I, like, created myself. And one of my favorite things about backpacking is I feel like it does play into your creativity. Because you have a whole country and there's no route. Like,
right.
You're planning a route. And you can adapt and you can change, and everywhere you go, like, you're, like, breaking your mind's boundaries and, like, having to expand and make friends with people that maybe you would never make friends with, and, like, be alone. And just all of that I feel like would make a great story.
Yeah.
And there's, like, you know, I fall in love with a Canadian. He breaks my heart. I see my ex-boyfriend. Like, I think it's got the workings for a good book. For a good book. Dang. Anyway, this is all, like, what's been happening over the past week. So I outlined the whole thing. So I have, like, 50 stories to tell. It's like 7 from each country that all weave into this.
Looking back on that experience, is that something that's extremely positive for you? Do you have very fond memories, or are most of the memories like when you, because I have flashbacks of my, like, travels. I don't tend to remember any of the negative stuff. But there's a lot of, like, but I don't recall it. It doesn't be like, oh, very nostalgic, or doesn't get me very emotional. But I know there were, like, experiences that weren't fun, like where I was having a shitty time, and very travel turbulent. Sucks. Like, travel sucks sometimes.
I remember that I was unhappy, but when I look back on that memory, I don't feel that unhappiness. I remember it all as a good thing.
How cool.
Like, parts of it were fucking bad. Like, I won't lie. You know what I mean? Like, I was in Guatemala. I met up with my ex-boyfriend. It was my birthday. He ditched me to hang out with this Ukrainian girl that he, like, clearly... We were, like, together. He's my ex, but we were definitely together right then. You know, we were having, like, a fling. Like, whatever. And he, like, ditched me on my birthday to hang out with this other girl. And, like, was very, like, I don't give a fuck about you. And I, like, slept alone on the roof of my hostel on my 26th birthday. And I remember just crying myself to sleep. And, like, being so lonely. And it was so good for me in so many different ways. But it was terrible. Yeah. But I don't remember it, like, in a negative way. I remember it as, like, personal growth. know?
Yeah.
But yeah, if you tell that story, everyone's like, oh my God, that's so sad. I'm so sorry that happened to you. And I'm like, why are you sorry that happened to me? It was good for me. Like, it was a good experience. And I didn't end up with that guy. And that was a good choice. So maybe it was for the best. And like...
That'd be cool. I'd like to read that.
I think it's going to be good. But I'm not very good at writing, so I don't know. But it'll be fun no matter what.
Don't they say that, like, if you're well-read, that your writing should be...
Well, they say if you're well-read, you can spell good. But I can't spell for shit.
Spell well.
Fuck! See? See?
Hey, but your Goodreads library count is off the charts, so, you know...
It is. I've read everything, and I haven't digested any of it. I don't know. There are definitely, like, this week, I had a day, and I got off work, and I was like, fuck this job. Fuck everyone there. Fuck this lifestyle.
Yeah.
I hate everything. And I took a shower, and I cried. That was on Wednesday.
You know, I'd probably feel better if I could cry, but I can't. It's just not in the...
Not in the cards for you.
Not in the cards. It's okay.
Well, yeah, so, but I think we should dedicate a whole podcast to this, but
I wanted to, like, when I wasn't sure if it was going to be this episode or another episode, but this is what I was thinking is, when I'm thinking about the 25 to 35-year-old range, it falls in under that millennial category. And one of the things that millennials value is experiences and travel. And I think a lot of people in our age range and demo that, you know, have jobs that have been doing what they're supposed to be doing. You know, they went to school, they got the job, and they're doing that. Like, you kind of get into a rhythm and you get real comfortable, but you start questioning, like, man, this is just like, you're either lacking creativity or you're lacking fun or you're lacking something. And then you log on to Instagram and you see everybody's like traveling to all these cool places. I think it would be neat, and one of the things that I thought we could explore is how to prepare for a trip abroad, or we could talk about solo travel, or we can group it into like, you know, like an all-in-one episode. But I think I believe that it would be incredibly valuable for someone who's never traveled, because there are a lot of people that have been on vacations. Like, you go to Cabo, like that doesn't. I'm not going to say that.
Well,
doesn't.
that's not what we're talking about.
Yeah, that doesn't count. But it's different than going to Hawaii. Like, when you go to Hawaii, when you go to Cabo, when you do these little trips, like, that's cool. But there's something to be said about extended travel abroad.
Yeah, that we're not talking about those other things.
And I think that would be. I mean, I think we can speak from a lot of experience on that and how to prepare for it, how to get your house in order, so to speak, in order to prepare for something like that, and then maybe what you can expect and how to have a good experience, or how to put yourself in a position where you could have a good experience. I think that would be super cool. Well, yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I will say that California wins with weather.
Oof, I know. Maybe not completely. There are some really nice places, but it's
Like
up there.
what?
It's definitely up there.
Like what?
I mean, I've been to like parts of the Caribbean that were just like, the weather was insane. But I don't live there, so I don't know what it's like all the time.
True. That was my whole thing with New York. I think every time I went to New York, I was like, this is nice. I got really good weather every time I went.
Go to New York in the winter.
And this last time, it felt like a swamp.
Oh yeah.
It was gross.
It's disgusting. In the winter, it's horrible. Well, I feel like that was good. Like, I feel like this is a natural place to like kind of wrap it up,
Yeah.
and like finding your creativity, inspiring your own creativity, challenging yourself. Like, where does happiness play into that? And like finding happiness, I think, is also very similar to finding creativity. Like, you hit veins of it, and you're just like very happy with what's going on in your life, and then all of a sudden you're discontent, or
Yes.
you don't find your creativity.
Yeah.
And like, it definitely does have to be cultivated from within, but it's like, how do you do it? Nobody knows. Why did you even listen? We don't know how to tell you, because nobody fucking knows. But you just have to like practice. You have to flex those muscles and
I think
watch hella TED Talks.
watch hella TED Talks. Keep practicing.
Yeah.
Keep trying.
And these things will come to you, and they'll become a part of your personal journey.
Just keep listening. We'll figure it out together.
We're searching too. I think that's the whole point of this podcast. Is like, we're definitely trying to find answers in a world with no answers.
You know what? Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we start trying to interview some people that on subjects that we're extremely curious about?
I know. Okay, so my coworker is Muslim, and she asked if she could come be on the show and talk about like being wearing a hijab and like nowadays and like.
I'm sure I have a billion questions, so sure.
I know. I think we should have her on.
But let's, like, what if, we should start having people on the show because we need to figure out if we're good at interviewing people. And two, like, all the shit that we're all experiencing or going through, or like fucking like interview like a fucking happiness like counselor, or just like the like the happiest person in the world, like whoever claims to be the happiest person in the world, like bro, or yo homegirl, like tell me what you're doing, how can we be more happy, like what if we just did that? What if we continuously just tried to get guests on the show? They don't need to be like, I don't know, maybe they could be like a Richard Branson or things like. We'll probably have to work our way up there, but like it would be cool to do things like that. And
I completely agree.
We could interview travel experts and I think part of a bunch of different.
I think what we're going for here is like we don't have any of the answers, but we're always looking for them, and you should too. And you might never find them, but like the journey is awesome, and I just want to touch on all walks of life and everybody's different experiences and like expand everybody's minds in the best way possible. And I think we can definitely do that with guests. The other day we were having a conversation on work, and one of my coworkers was like, "Hey, how did you know your husband was the one?" And I was like, "Well, I don't."
Oh, this is a long conversation.
Yeah, and he was like, "What do you mean you don't?" I was like, "Well, I think he is.
Yeah.
I won't know until it's over." Like I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And then he was like, "I don't understand how you can like take that commitment without knowing." And I was like, "Well, nobody knows, and everybody does it." And like, I think that would be a good conversation to have with people. None of us fucking know. That's the point. Is none of us know anything, and it's awesome. And I chugged a coffee before I got here.
Yeah, this wine was Alias wine. You're not gonna make the cut for the next round. We've been on a poor.
I drank a bottle of The Prisoner last night, so I'm feeling pretty good. Anyway,
I'm over this.
This wine sucks. Taylor, take us out here.
Till next time, folks.
Never satisfied.
Yeah, never satisfied.
Goodbye. All right, should we do an intro?
Yeah, we could do an intro. That wine's not very good.
I'm gonna stop the video here.
Oh, I forgot about that.